Hi there, Wojtek.
Hi there.
All right. Well, with Wojtek here, shall we get started?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
All right. So welcome everyone to the fourth AMA with the founders and other team members. We're not really respecting the rule of strictly inviting the founders. Today we have Wojtek, our CEO, Dini of Gravitis. You will see him on Telegram as Gravitis, our head of marketing and public relations, and Oliver, which is our DeFi head developer. The topic of this AMA will be marketing and expansion. So I will start right away with the first question, which is, what have you done under the marketing point of view so far? Which the question was asked by Odino in the chat 1 or 2 days ago. So who wants to take it?
Cool. Let me take this because we've done a lot and I have a list. So first of all, recently you probably saw we launched our consent to earn concept, and this is huge. What it does is it formalizes what we're doing and puts it out there in the general public as a thing. So we were featured on Bitcoin.com's news page on their front page, as well as Being Crypto, Forbes, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, the Associated Press, a lot of top tier media. And just to preface, these are all things that we're doing right now, but will continue to be ongoing and even grow in the future. So let me just start with that. We had our Gleam contest, which put us over 10,000 members on Twitter and 7,000 in Telegram. That's continuing to grow. We've also done an ad campaign on Bitcoin.com. And then some really cool stuff that's happened this year. We had our high visibility awards and partnerships. So both of our founders were featured on Forbes 30 under 30 list. Our other founder, Ligia, was featured as, or won the ESET Hero of Progress Award. We just won EY Startup Academy Awards, third place in so EY's Ernst & Young, I should specify. Wojtek has the award right there. So that's one of the top 3 financial companies in the entire world, right? So they recognize our project, they gave us an award. These sorts of things, will have rippling impact over the coming months as they do press articles and, share their content on their channels. We've done a lot of high visibility events, various health, blockchain, tech conferences. We've had a constant presence there. And then we're also working on the other side of things, let's say, with institutional and organizational partnerships. So doing a lot with EU Relations, EIT Health, which is the European Commission's health research arm. And all of these will lead, hopefully, to co-marketing partnerships. But I will say that they are very excited about what we're doing, and they want to actually help us get out there in the world to, as we are like a direct response to their legislation, GDPR, Data Governance Act. We've posted articles on this. So they want to actually share our project with the world to say, hey, look, the legislation we made, here's a project that's actually using these right now. So that's going to be super exciting. We have a few more partnerships that I can't mention just yet as we're finalizing details, but they have reach of millions of people in Poland, and that will be starting hopefully in the very near future. And we've also done our first in-hospital campaigns. So that means we have a physical presence in hospitals. We're meeting with patients. We have posters, flyers, a display booth, and we're meeting with hundreds and thousands of patients on a weekly basis. And that's only going to grow as we sign on more data providers. So that's on the marketing side, what we've achieved. And Wojtek, if you want to maybe add something from the business or tech side.
I think that what would be useful for the community to know, also maybe from you, Dini, is what we are not doing. Because, a number of times we said that we actually differ from many projects that you see out there, and this also applies to our marketing endeavors. So just to, Dini, to say it in plain English, what are the things that we are doing and on which we are focusing marketing-wise, and what are the things that we do not do and have no intention of doing in the future?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and you may have noticed if you're in the community that we have a slightly different approach than typical projects. And there's a good reason for that. So when I go to conferences or I talk with the European government, there's a lot of bad press around blockchain and crypto. Obviously, FTX, we are all aware of what's happened in the last couple of weeks in BlockFi. And so on the one hand, we have to be very, very careful about the way that we approach our marketing, especially we have EU investment as well. But also, let's say on a broader scale, and I think maybe Wojciech, you can talk a little bit later about our core values, but we don't feel right about using the typical launch pads or the shilling groups or the brigading social platforms where you can just pay someone thousands of euros and they'll create false hype. And it's not real hype, and it's not real fundamental value. It doesn't bring good things to your community. It brings pump and dumpers. So what we're staying away from is anything that's scammy or spammy or anything that could push us into that realm of using these methodologies that just aren't moral to use, to be honest with you. It's tricking people. And basically all these people are doing, and every token that you've ever heard of in terms of some of these less serious coins are probably using these methods, and they're just paying people to create a false buzz, and it's an echo chamber. And they're all they're doing is waiting for the next person to come along to invest so they can offload their coins. That's literally the game they're playing. So we absolutely don't want to take part in that. And we think that actually doing things right in terms of a global, and we'll talk about this in a bit, like a global marketing campaign from, let's say, the traditional way, multi-channel marketing and all of that, is the right way to go, rather than using just crypto Telegram shill groups and bots to try and support something.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, because first of all, guys, we are incredibly grateful that you commit your time during this evening and afternoon to be with us. And we take it as a sign that you are actually interested in what we do and who we are as the team behind the project and us as Data Lake. And let me just share on the Telegram real quick something that probably will help you understand who we are more in depth, because we've taken a lot of time to define who we are, what's our code of conduct, what our core values are. And it's really simple because there are only 3 of them that you can also check out on our page. The first one is that we actually care. It's actually important for us what we are doing. We do give a damn about the right for privacy, about the access of medical data, about building this whole thing. It's not only a financial engineering exercise. We really want to build the global medical data donation system. So we care. And you can read more details on the webpage. The second thing is that we get it done, and we value people who deliver. And you, as our community, you can also hold us accountable for our delivery, because it's our pledge and promise to everybody out there that we are gonna get it done, or die trying. And the third thing is that we are fair, and not only because we promote fair access to medical data that's transparent, that's democratic, that's accessible for everybody, but we also have fairer rules when it comes to the company, when it comes to people who work with us as our members of the team, but also as our business partners. And I just wanted you to know that this is not something that we put out there at the wall and forget. This is present in our conversation. This is something that guides our business decisions. This is a framework that we use within the company and outside of the company to inform everything that we do. So I thought it might be really helpful for you if you would like to know better who we are and what's to expect from us and what's the decision-making framework we are taking in the future. This is the framework. These are our values. And also you, as our investors, as our community, you can expect that we will be behaving in every major or minor decision in the future in a way that would be compliant and in line with this value set.
Just for context, for those who are watching on YouTube, we will put the link in the description. We're talking about the datalake.co/core-values. So we're talking about our core values. Now, I will, the answer was really extensive. I will move on to the second question, which was asked by Velinora. And the question is, what do you exactly mean by expansion, which is one of the 2 words in the title of this AMA? And what kind of expansion do you need?
Why don't you go first, Dini, and I'll supplement.
Sure. Okay. So let's back up a little bit. What are we trying to solve here? We are trying to solve access to medical data, but also we're trying to solve bias in medical data. So for those of you who haven't been listening to maybe our previous AMAs, we've mentioned the fact that the people represented in medical data sets are typically Western, white, and male. This causes huge problems. Right now, we're using AI and developing AIs to detect cancer, to find cures for diseases, even to control medical robots. And these are all being trained on models of data. And if the data is biased, the results and the AIs and the machines they run are biased. And this is a huge problem being talked about in the medical community and the scientific community. So what that means is we need to then go global in terms of our data donation. So we for right now, as you may know, we are launching or have launched already in Poland. And we actually will have our online consent collection app ready within the month. And that will be the time where we really start pushing out across Poland to say, hey, anyone who has a Polish ID card or bank account, you can now sign up and give consent and become a data donor.
And this is also one of the reasons, and we can't stress it enough, why we are conducting the token generation event. Because we are actually launching our system now, and we need the token for our core business activities of rewarding patients for becoming data donors.
Yeah, and as Dini also mentioned earlier, and sorry for interrupting, we're thinking long term, and I don't really think we should really look behind if it's the bull market or bear market, because we believe we are here to stay, and we are here to actually change something, to change a real problem and make a real impact. So I believe that we should launch a token when we need it, and that's exactly right now, when we need it the most, when we're launching our first campaign in Poland and getting things kick-started and heading into big expansion, I hope.
100%. And, what that means is, we start in Poland as we have, and that's the current need that we have for the token. We want to start rewarding data donors right away. But when we talk about expansion, we're not just talking about campaigns to hospitals and patients. We will have campaigns for data donors, but also data providers, different hospitals, clinics, everyone who's collecting data, biobanks, as well as data receivers. And what's really important here, and we maybe haven't, it's in the white paper, but as we all know, white papers are long and not everyone reads them. A really important concept to understand when it comes to our system is that the data buys from researchers who need the data to be able to conduct their studies will feed directly into the system, contributing to the liquidity pool, as well as they're going to be required to buy tokens. It's a ticket of entry into the medical data economy. So every time we have a real life request for data from a data buyer, the value of the system goes up. And this is what makes us really different from other projects. It's not just price speculation and see how many people buy it and so you see some buys, token goes up, but there's no fundamental value. We will actually have the fundamental value coming from real world data buyers, researchers, who are going to be purchasing our token to access the data. And that is something that very few projects that I'm aware of actually have that real world stream of income coming in to prop up their token.
I think the public opinion around blockchain now is mostly about, Bitcoin and DeFi, all this sort of legal money, which often is, illegal, which is already thought to be falling apart in a couple of months from there. But what we're doing here is something, we are using the blockchain to actually change something in our society, to improve healthcare, to improve science. We belong to this movement called DeSci of hundreds of projects, builders, entrepreneurs, and devs building the future of healthcare. And we really, believe that such things don't really have to follow trends. They go over that. They're more about how to improve humankind and how to do it in a substantial way. So we already touched this topic, but I've saved a question that specifically asks, how do you change your marketing strategy according to the market conditions? So, it's been a topic that sometimes we receive questions, why do you launch if Bitcoin is sub 20K? So I would like to, give you the chance to answer to this question, which was asked by Marco.
Yeah, Wojciech, maybe if you want to take it, I'm happy to speak to the marketing side, but in terms of our decisions, how they're framed through market conditions, maybe you want to take that first.
Absolutely. So first of all, because we are launching our system, a token is an indispensable element of the system that we need to deliver on our core business promise of building a consent to earn data access layer. We've already built the consent. Now we have to build the earn. And that's the reason why we are launching the token right now. So you're asking about the timing and the bear market and what's going on out there. So let's first stop for a moment and think where the markets are. Obviously, we know where they are in crypto, but we are also a healthcare project, and healthcare industry is doing better than ever after COVID pandemic. So there is no sign of bear market over there, and valuations of life sciences and pharma companies in the healthcare industry are not bottoming down. So this is the second phase that we have, that we are also operating in the industry that is flourishing. That's not on the bottom. So that's second. Third, referring to what Dini already said and to what Andrea said before, we are a project that grows with time. So we have a mechanism where with every data transfer, with every transaction that we distribute to our ecosystem, our liquidity pool becomes bigger. There is a value accrual mechanism that also feeds into the token economy. So with time, by adding more and more transactions, by having more and more data donors, by having more and more data buyers, this is the principal driving vehicle of the value and the robustness of our token. So the best chance for us to build, a top 100 coin market cap project is not to try to time the market and, try to invent an ingenious way of financial engineering it, using all the strategies that are out there with shilling groups and so on. But it's building a business that actually lasts and feeds the token economy for the years to come. And this is our strategy. So we are launching because we need the token. We are going to launch lightly. So it's not going to be a huge launch with, billboard campaigns and press releases and influencers talking about data lake at every corner, because this is not something that we are going to need for the business. This is not something that builds long-term confidence and the value of the project, right? What is going to build the long-term value of the project is when we build a viable business that will feed the data economy in a sustainable way, so that both the donors and the patients and investors and our clients are protected. We don't want to be a second FTX, a project that doesn't deliver on the promises, because that's not our core values. So to be faithful to what we promised, to be faithful to who we are, this is the way we think about the launch. So timing the market, it's not our strategy. Building a viable business that will feed the token is something that we are doing right now.
I agree with Wojciech, Seth, and I would like to actually add to that what I like to say is that bear markets are for building, and that's exactly what we are doing. And for most of projects, I don't want to speak for everyone, but lots of them consider IDO as the end game, like this is the peak of the project. But we believe that the IDO is just the beginning. It's just a utility for us to build the earn element that already Wojciech mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, 100%. And, I've been in blockchain and, I guess blockchain and Bitcoin for 10 or 12 years now. I saw Mt. Gox. Obviously, we've had our fun week here in crypto, 2 weeks, the big crash a few years ago at Christmas. So I've seen it go up and down. I've seen Bitcoin at, 50 euros and 60,000 euros. But when I have been consulting for other blockchain projects in the past, and they've been in a bear market, it's always focus on your fundamentals. You cannot affect the market. You can't time the market. We can't control people's sentiment right now. I ran a poll on a group of mine that's crypto related, and a lot of people just aren't buying crypto. They're scared, and it's understandable, especially if it's their first bear market. But what that means is, if you can focus on the fundamentals, as Oliver said, you are then prepared to launch back up with the market, and we will be in a position with all the materials, all the tools, the network, the partners, to be able to then ride that wave back up when it comes in the future, for sure.
I just want to repeat what Oliver beautifully said. This is just the beginning. So by launching a token, by conducting a token generation event, we actually finally have the tools to build the business model that we were envisioning to build for months. So the consent to earn. So it's only the beginning. It's not like, the project is ending with the IDO and the team is going to dissolve. This is just the beginning of the real work that's ahead of us.
I mean, it sounds obvious that the project starts with the IDO, but unfortunately, it isn't always the case with all the the things that have been going on with crypto. But I mean, we define ourselves on another level. We're not pumping and dumping. We're not doing any of that. We're actually building a sustainable alternative to improve healthcare, and I think that's important. And that doesn't have anything to do with most of the other projects around. Of course, there are many other builders who are doing something great, and we would like to be associated with them rather than the projects that see the IDO as the final point of their career, the point where they dump the token and go home or rug pull or worse. So let's let's leave now the token talk, and let's talk about more about the business with this question by Sides Up, who asks, can you share with us the next countries that will adopt the data lake standard? Now, I absolutely love the data lake standard name, but yeah, I will leave you guys the answer.
So Andrea is probably asking this question hoping that the name Italy will pop up, and indeed it will. So we can disclose that we are currently in talks with a number of countries, including Italy, Hungary, Slovakia, Germany to a certain extent, Czech Republic, obviously, Oliver. We are not leaving you on the side. But just for you to understand the bigger picture, we are talking about the problem that touches all the European Union countries. That is described as the data poverty trap, which means that we have plenty, the abundance of data that is flowing in the bloodstream of healthcare, but we don't have the mechanism of transporting this data to research laboratories. And this is the problem that is universal for every European country. And the problem is also on the target of the European Commission with the new regulation which is coming into force in 8 months, which is called the Data Governance Act, which is going to govern the principles of, this is going to be a mouthful of words that are complicated, but probably some of you will find it interesting. It's going to govern the secondary use of data. So data for research purposes, with the primary use of data being the one that your doctor uses to treat you as a patient. And they want to build the whole secondary use of data exchange in the whole continent on basis of data altruism principles. And data altruism, it's a fancy word of the European Union to describe data donation. So we are really building something that the European Commission wants us to build, to provide mechanisms and tools for every country to be able to be compliant with the regulation, which is yet to come. So we are already in talks with numbers of countries. The talks are definitely going to accelerate once we launch our system, once we actually have the token to be able to reward the patients in different geographical locations. And as always, we'll keep you updated about the progress. But definitely a lot is happening there. Dini also mentioned before that we are in talks on the European Commission level, working closely with a number of European institutions as well. And this is the direction we are going. So to build one, as you beautifully described, data lake standard for the secondary use of data in the whole of the European Union.
Yeah, not much to add other than there was a question coming in from Tolga saying, I'm in Turkey and out of EU. What plans does Data Lake have? And, we have global plans. Let's put it that way. We absolutely, as I said earlier, believe that to solve the problems of bias in data, we need people from across the world to give their medical data to science. And that is what we're going to do. So there's no country off the list as far as I know. EU, of course, makes sense for us to expand first. And that's why we're laying the groundwork to be able to do that. But of course, already starting to put feelers out there beyond the EU, because that is absolutely the direction we will go in the future.
Okay, if you don't have anything to add, I will move on directly to the fifth question asked by Lukasz, which is, are there any plans to advertise data donation on TV? Now, we already talked about advertising in general and marketing, but I like this question because it's quite specific. Like I don't know. I would like to hear it from you, Dean.
Yeah, so the answer is definitely yes. So I come from a background of private industry and consumer brand, which basically means multi-channel campaigns. You go across every channel, including television, digital media, YouTube, news, social, I mean, just across the board. And then also we'll be looking at guerrilla marketing. For those of you that don't know, that is basically physical in-city marketing that has some sort of viral element to it. It could be 3D, it could be technological, but it's not just a picture on a billboard, on the side of a bus. But I'm a big believer that to create a worldwide brand, you need to be out there in the world and you need to be on as many channels as possible. So yes, short answer, television is definitely on the cards going into next year.
And maybe just a short comment. I like the question because it relates to a medium that's not a traditional one for crypto projects to be present in. But it's important for us because that's what a lot of patients actually consume. So it's television. And what's in the heart of the design of Data Lake is that we are building an inclusive system. And our oldest data donor right now is 94 years old. And we've really designed a system where even a person who's digitally excluded, who doesn't know how to use a computer, not even mentioning a MetaMask wallet. Well, MetaMask probably it's not now a tool that you want to use given their privacy standards. But we are building a tool that even your grandmother will be able to use. And that's why we are definitely thinking about TV, because that's where a big part of our audience, so data donors, is.
I mean, in the end, we are a Web 2.5 company in the sense that we interact both with the Web 2 world, with the traditional healthcare institutions, as well as the Web 3 world, which is the crypto market, the MetaMask wallet, the Polygon integration, etc., etc. So TV makes sense to be, part of our marketing strategy in the future, for sure. So the next question is still about promoting. It was asked by Matt Shea. I hope I pronounce your name right. And it is quite specific. It is, do you want us to promote the project even if we're not connected with medical science? I don't want to decrease your credibility. Now, of course, I could give a direct answer, but I will leave to you, Dini, and then, of course, Oliver and Wojtek, if you want to add something. I want to leave you the right answer to this specific question.
Sure. So short answer is yes, of course, we want you to share our project, our data donation concept with your family, friends, on your social channels. I will say this, though, and it's a mantra that I've lived by for every crypto project that I've ever been in. It is share, don't shill. And there's a big difference. And you can tell when you go on Twitter and you look at the comments, the difference between someone who's sharing something like, hey, I thought this is interesting, or, in a very normal way, versus what you see on crypto Twitter, which is just shill, spamming comments, unrelated to the topic. So you'll go to an article about, like we got these on our articles too on Twitter, medical data donation. And then they're adding some, metaverse play to earn game and saying, oh my gosh, you can make so much money on this coin, right? So this is really what we want to avoid, because that actually would lower our reputation. But if you have family, friends, or you have a social channel where you want to share the medical data donation concept, the consent to earn concept, either posting one of our articles or just, sharing the link to our website, feel free to do that. And I think you'll know the difference between, and because we're all competent adults, the difference between when we're shilling and when we're sharing. And if it makes sense of the conversation, or it's someone you know or already have a relationship with. So even for me, I've shared it in some communities that I've earned a reputation with. They know that I'm not just shilling nonsense and, sharing scams. That's a position where I can do that. And it actually has more impact versus if you're just spamming on Twitter and random comments. Please don't do that. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help the token. So yeah, that's it. Share, don't chill. That's my mantra.
Yeah, my take on that is actually share responsibly. I mean, it's out of our control how you're going to behave on the internet, but if you really want to support us, then really share responsibly, and please bear in mind that actually shilling or any other invasive actions towards promoting our project actually are going to harm our project and not going to help us. And as you know, we're the global medical exchange system. We want to expand. We want to get the word out there, and that's what we're trying to build here and promote, and not just a quick shill, pump and dump and other stuff.
Yeah, and actually, like the consent to earn concept is quite advertises itself. Like we don't have to do anything. You literally have the possibility to give your consent once. You don't have to, spend 4 hours per day watching data lake things happening. You just have to do it once, and then as soon as data transactions, we have data purchases for which we already have demand for more than $500,000, and again, the system is not live yet. So for every data purchase, the lake tokens get distributed to all of those that have given their consent. And apart from this residual income, which is really, it's sustainable and it's just amazing that it's becoming possible, you are also helping medical research, which is another noble cause that itself should be enough for you to donate your data, of course, if that's what you want to do with your own data. We don't have a say over that. And we always mention it in our articles, but I want to state it again. You can always revoke your data. If you don't like the system, if you don't feel appreciated enough, if you don't believe in it, you can always revoke your consent over the use of your data. We're not the big tech giant that makes money off your pockets. We are here to create a sustainable environment that benefits all the parties involved in a fair and transparent way. So the next question, the 7th, it was asked by Tata Martins, and it's something very interesting. It's more broadly about the business, and it is, do you plan to focus only on medical data, or we can expect more?
Shall I take it? Let me
go ahead.
Cool. All right. So the framework for consent to earn and accessing private data on basis of a consent and power of attorney of an individual is a consent that can be, it's a concept that can be applied to variety of different sensitive data, not only medical one. The reason we are starting with medical data is, first of all, it's so much needed. And it's needed more than ever after the COVID pandemics. It's also very hard to access. So the problems is most burning with medical data access. Also, in the context of healthcare, we already have other donation systems like blood donation, organ donation, bone marrow donation, to which we can refer. And these are the systems that people universally know, they accept it. Everywhere in the world, there are hundreds of millions of people who subscribe to different donation systems. And we just think it makes a ton of sense to start with the healthcare industry, build a concept here, because this is quite unique, because not only you can earn from your medical data, but you can literally save a life in the future. Plus it refers to something that people already know and accept, plus the need is the greatest. But when we do it successfully in the healthcare setup, when we already build the first medical data donation system, nothing stands in the obstacle of repeating this kind of exercise in other industries and making available other kind of useful data like mobility data, marketing data, and so on basis of your single consent.
So this consent word is really a standard, can be adopted in many occasions, and the data market is growing exponentially, and it will grow exponentially in the next year. And of course, it's here to stay. Like after the digitalization that we all see now, we are in the process of datalization. Someone has used this term in the past. So yeah, absolutely. I thought about that. With expansion, we would only refer to data lake and medical data, but I'm happy that we can also give an idea of what we aim to become in the following years.
I mean, look, guys, Amazon started by selling books, and now they sell everything to everybody. And if you are building a startup, then you have to focus on something, be really good in it, top class, first in the world, and then you expand to other verticals. And this is our approach. We know that we have to stay focused, we have to stay alert, we have to keep our eyes on the price. And that's why right now we don't diverge our attention from the medical data. This is 100% of our focus. But with time, we are mindful that there is also the broader vision out there. And once again, Amazon was selling only books. And you know how huge company they are right now.
All right, I like this metaphor. And the next question was asked by Balong, and it is, how will Web3 privacy make the world a better place? Now, Dini, since you've been in this market for so long, I think you can give us the best answer about Web3 and decentralization in general.
Sure. So what I love about Web3 technology, and whenever I'm talking at conferences, this is one of the things that I say every single time. It allows us to have both privacy and innovation. And up until this point, we really couldn't. I mean, we could have both, but Web3 technology guarantees it. It removes trust from the system. It makes sure that everything is mathematically provable. You don't have to trust a private entity or a private database, that there's no data manipulation. Each block, is verifiable, and everyone has a copy. So if anything changes, especially on a public blockchain like the one we're using, people know. But what I'm really excited about in Web3 and privacy, so there's something that's coming up, at least from the European government, but it's being talked about in a lot of crypto circles, and it's called self-sovereign identity. So this is basically a blockchain-based model that allows you to selectively share your personal information or your data with third parties. It uses zero-knowledge proofs, similar to other privacy coins, Monero, for example, and it has decentralized authentication. The really, really cool part, and we're seeing this from a legislative perspective, but also from the technology that the European government is going to propose that we're all using in the future. Every single person in Europe will be using this in the future, is that control and consent from the user are core fundamental ideologies. So it means that when you go to interact with a website, number one, you have control over what data is shared. And number two, they can't take your data without your consent. And this is coming. So this is really going to change privacy because it means that not every single website or every interaction that you have digitally can be tracked and traced and get all your data from it. All these apps, which are, like you download a calculator app that's tracking your location, right? This stuff will no longer be in our future because of self-sovereign identity and being able to selectively share based on your control and consent, not on apps or not your phones. You will directly say, this is what I share with people, and I am giving permission for them to see it. So that, in terms of privacy, is going to absolutely change the way that things are done. And it's something we're paying a lot of attention to because, as you maybe saw with GDPR, suddenly different countries like California came out with their CCPA Act, which was basically a mimic of GDPR. And I think with this, when it comes to privacy and identity and blockchain, which are all tools that the European Commission has said we're going to use it, and we're going to legislate it, I could see that really taking off around the world. And once that's there, I mean, that's going to completely revolutionize the way that we interact with people and entities and private companies online.
I don't know if anyone has anything to add. Otherwise, I will.
Nothing to add. Beautifully said.
Perfect. So the next question was asked by Pelim Han. And it is, most projects lost a lot of funds with the collapse of FTX, and many projects, I guess, were damaged. How do you plan to keep the funds of the project safe?
Well, by getting the basics right. So guys, not your keys, not your crypto. We are not storing our cryptocurrencies, our assets in any kind of centralized exchange. We use ledgers, so physical carriers of your coins. We have multi-signature wallets, so no single founder, even not myself, can spend any amount of either our funds as the project, either our lake tokens. We are also quite neurotic when it comes to our cybersecurity procedures. So we have a number of procedures that we follow when it comes to access management and control, when it comes to password sharing, when it comes to access physically to different resources in our company. And we tend to get more and more neurotic the closer we are to our company funds and the closer we are to our patients' data. So because the privacy and control and security is in core of what we do, we actually pay a lot of attention to it. And that's also one of the reasons why development of our system takes time. Because in our business, the consequences of a data leak or the consequences of not being prudent with the way you manage your funds or your data are catastrophic. And right now we are finalizing 2 independent cybersecurity audits by 2 independent, highly reputable firms, one of which audited the Ethereum smart contract and a number of other projects that you're probably familiar with. And we are very serious about it. So yeah, I mean, do the basics right. Don't keep your crypto in a centralized exchange. Don't share your keys or the words to access your cryptocurrency wallet with anybody. Use multi-signature wallets to be able to sign transactions with multiple people, not just one. And what we've seen in case of FTX, and what we see, in many cases of corporate fraud, is all the bad things that happen when too much control is given to one person. And we firmly believe in it. We don't have control over the whole company or all the assets in the hands of one single person in Data Lake neither. If you look at the way that Elon Musk manages his companies, he, for instance, doesn't have dual class stocks. If the shareholders want to outvote him, they can outvote him. So it's not exercising artificial control over the company. It's not putting power into the hands of one person, but spreading that responsibility by using a number of technological tools that allow us to keep our funds safe.
Yeah, like we were aware of the risks of centralized services well before FTX, and we've always taken care of that. And I mean, as like we know these principles, we know how to work in this field. We have experience, all of us, in this field, so we know how to deal safely in blockchain. There is a question that was asked during our call by Tolga, which is, I see you guys have made the first deal with the data provider in August. How many data providers do you have now?
So we have orders from 15 different data providers.
That was quick.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it's really incredible getting emails and messages from Ligia, who every time she comes back from talking to a data provider with our business manager, she's like, they love the idea. They love it. They want to start collaborating. And even when I'm talking, with other healthcare people in the healthcare sector around Europe, everyone has this positive reaction. And the best part that we're able to say, because generally hospitals, they're not able to legally or easily offset the cost of their data. And when we can tell them that they are actually a financial stakeholder in our system and can offset the cost of their data for something they're legally required to do, they get very happy about this, because they don't want to be in the business of selling data to third parties, and there's a lot of legal risk if they're sharing their data of their patients and something goes wrong, they lose all their patients, and this hospital may close down. So that's why our system is so powerful, because it can guarantee them the legal and the secure transfer of medical data to third parties for research purposes, while being a financial stakeholder in our system. So overall, every data provider we talk to has been very, very positive, and we are in various stages of negotiations with more as we speak now. So we will for sure release more announcements on that as we are able to.
Yeah, so guys, I also think it's helpful to think about consent to earn, also in the context of not only patients, so not only you exercise control over your data by virtue of giving and revoking consents, and you earn for doing so, but also as a form of legal basis for data providers, so hospitals, labs, diagnostic imaging facilities, to use the consent as the legal basis to engage in a transaction with a researcher for a given data set. So the consent is the key to unlocking the value of medical data the way we have on our website, both for the patients but also for the data providers.
Yeah, and both our founders, Wojtek and Ligia, are actually medical doctors, which means that this idea didn't start from someone who was bored at home and said, let's start a medical, data donation system. It actually started from an actual need from doctors who lived this, necessity that thought that the healthcare system could be improved and actually are here to build and make a difference. Also, many other team members have extensive experience in the healthcare world. So we are a great mix of crypto and healthcare, and we know what the industry needs on both sides. So we have please go ahead.
Yeah, just to add on to that, so there's this great case of sepsis that you, Andrea, actually wrote about for our website blog, in where a hospital finally put in a data sharing system between their labs and their clinicians or doctors, right? And this was quite new. It had not been done before. And it took like a sharp-eyed doctor who noticed that there was a correlation between the blood panels that they were coming in and the mortality rate of people dying of sepsis. And she suddenly, realized that this correlation could save tons of lives. They put in a protocol to be able to check, I think it was, Wojciech, don't kill me if I'm wrong, blood lactase. Hey, so there we go. Thank you for sharing the...
You're becoming not only a Polish citizen, but a doctor as well.
Maybe in 6 to 8 years. Okay, but so the blood lactase levels were able to indicate whether someone was potentially going to die from sepsis and needed to be treated. This one change that somebody noticed in one hospital by looking at the data saves hundreds of thousands of lives per year, just in the US alone. So when we now talk about, having an interconnected system with millions and millions and millions of data points, like there's really no saying what we could achieve, what we could find out, the new correlations that we could find, and honestly, the lives that could be saved from this. And this is really kind of the underlying thing that drives all of this, is that people understand that data saves lives. And that is what we're trying to make happen.
And I want to make a little, when you said that it was thanks to the work of a doctor that this whole sepsis case was solved, and we're going to share the link of that article in the YouTube video description as well. Like, it made me think how DeSci actually empowers individuals with their community to actually change something. So we proudly, part of that, and I think we can relate to the work of that doctor. I think she would have had an easier life, an easier work if she had a community sustaining her both economically or, practically, if she was part of the DeSci. So unfortunately, that wasn't existing yet back then, but now we have this incredible chance to really make a difference. I see another question from Torga coming up, which is, how can researchers apply for data at Data Lake? Is there an API mechanism or what?
Oli, me or you?
Doesn't matter. You can start. I can dive deep into technicalities, how we're actually planning it, because the stage of actually accessing data is something that we're still due to build. So we have a plan in mind. API access is definitely one of them. An endpoint you would be retrieving your data through. Although how Data Lake is architected, basically planned, is not that everyone can access to the data, but that only certain players can access the data, and that is also according to something we call preferential staking that we want to introduce into future. Is that correct, Wojciech? Maybe you can elaborate on that, actually.
Yeah. So, all right. So you asked us about security before. And the security also applies to secure sharing of your data. So there are some things that we wouldn't like to happen with medical data of our data donors. So one thing that probably we wouldn't like to happen is data falling into hands of an insurance company that could use patients' data for adjustment of insurance premiums to ultimate detriment of the patient. Second thing that for instance, we wouldn't like to happen with medical data. It's data falling into hands of a tobacco company, which would be able to engineer a novel vaping device that would be way more addictive for the patients. So these are just some examples that actually were meant to show that not everybody can access medical data, because the consent that we are getting from patients is for sharing of their medical data for research. So not for inventing devices that are harmful for the patients, like vaping devices, not for the purpose of adjusting the insurance premiums. So the first and foremost principle of data sharing with Data Lake is that there has to be a research principle in mind. So application is actually a good term, because a company that would wish to access medical data from Data Lake would have to specify for what is the need, what is the aim, what's the goal of them having a specific data set. So that's first. That's like the first entry point. We need to know that they have a research objective in mind. And the second is that we are designing something that we call preference staking. Why do we do it? So even a step before, what is medical data? Medical data is a strategic resource for the whole multi-billion-dollar life sciences industry that already spends over 24% of yearly revenue on average on R&D, the highest from all industries out there in the world. And if you're a company that operates in life sciences industry, then having better access to medical data gives you competitive advantage over other enterprises. And this is hugely important. So medical data, it's a strategic resource for life sciences industry. The same way, for instance, steel is a strategic resource for the defense industry. And how do we govern who can access that resource, on what terms, for how long, how much do they pay for it, and so on? We do it by introducing something that we call preference staking. So data buyers can purchase our tokens from the market, they can stake them, and when they stake them, they can get better, faster, cheaper, longer access to medical data. We can do, for instance, targeted consent collection campaign for them, for specific patient populations. We can provide a better level of data processing that's more suitable for their needs. This wouldn't mean that we would be locking out certain people from accessing medical data, but it would mean that for some enterprises and organizations who decide to purchase and stake Lake tokens, we are going to be willing to do some additional heavy lifting for them to have better access to a strategic resource, which is indispensable for them to generate revenue, grow, and stay ahead of the competition. So in a nutshell, these are the rules that are going to govern access to medical data. So first of all, research objective in mind. And second of all, preference staking that's going to govern the priority and the terms of given enterprises accessing medical data from Data Lake.
Right. So if you don't have anything else to add, that was really exhaustive as an answer. I would say hi to everyone, say bye to everyone. I would invite those who are following us on Telegram to, rewatch the AMA on YouTube in case you lost some points. We will put chapters, so it will be easier to jump from one question to another. And on the other hand, I will jump those who are watching us on YouTube to join us during our calls on our community, so you don't lose anything, all the news, all the things we're building. We have an IDO coming in 7 days from now, on the 7th of December, on Uniswap Ethereum. The token will become publicly tradable from anyone in a transparent way. We will share the contract address later on. So don't fall for any scam of someone who pretends to be Data Lake and texts you in DM and says, "Hey, I got leaked the smart contract of the token. Here it is, the contract." So we will share it publicly in the due time. And that will be it for today. Thank you everyone for joining. And we will have many other events. I really like hosting them, and I like the response, and I hope you enjoy them too. So yeah, it has been a nice hour full of content. So thanks everyone for participating.
And once again, we are tremendously grateful for your time and for spending this beautiful winter afternoon and evening with us.
instead of a Polish football match with Argentina. Some could say.
There you go.
Maybe for the best. Has anyone looked at the score yet?
I heard it's actually a bit better than 4-0.
All right, 0-0 half.
Come on, guys. I'm the only Polish person on the call. I don't want to go deeper in the subject. It's traumatizing.
All right. Thank you again to our community. We really appreciate it. Have a fantastic night. If you haven't signed up for our IDO token launch newsletter, do so. It's in the pinned messages, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Ciao. Ciao.